We are on, huh?
Good evening, listeners. Welcome this evening again to Straight Talk here on West Coast Radio. We are here every week on Straight Talk for our nation, talking about issues concerning our nation, our development, maybe proffering solutions. And we always say here on the program, we do not claim to have the knowledge and the solution to all of Gambia's problems, but we just want to have a national discourse for us to be able to speak truth to ourselves, talk straight to ourselves, to our nation, to our leaders, and just to each other. And this week we have a lot of things we want to talk about. We will begin by talking about issues of license, tinting of cars, the inconvenience, the challenges, and hopefully we will also be calling the PRO of police, ASP Nyang Njie, to maybe shed some light on what the police plan to do on this. And also we will look at some issues on politics and other issues of national concern. To begin with, Ms. Njie, before we call the PRO, the police have come up with, is it a penalty on for tinted cars? If you have a factory tint, you pay a particular amount. If it's normal or natural or is it deliberate tint, then you pay another amount. If my memory serves me right, one time the issue of tinted cars was a matter of security, but now we are having fees attached to what kinds of tint you have in your car. And some of these cars are bought with their tint. Is it not just the police or government just wanting to milk the citizenry? What are your thoughts on this issue?
Good evening, listeners. You see, public policy must be responsive to the needs of the citizen. If public policy is not responsive, then compliance becomes an issue. If government believed that tinted cars were a threat to national security, then they should even think of telling people to pay to make sure they get it, because threat is a threat. So when someone pays, it doesn't deter or remove the threat. So therefore, that's not a justifiable reason. But more so, if you read the press release, it will show you that this government is what George Orwell will call an animal farm. They spoke about tints, that they don't want it, but if you want to have it, you have to pay. But where they went wrong and selfish was on the issue of exemptions. Who is exempted from having it? A senior government official paid for by you and me can have their car tinted. What a folly. But then again, there has to be respect for the very people that constitute government. There has to be respect for the very people who pay taxes so that the government can have money to use. Kumamu amday ak kumamu amunday in public policy, it's bad, and that's what the government is doing as per the tinting rule they've just came out with a few days ago or a week ago.
Okay, beyond the tint, there was an order released from the Office of the Inspector General of Police. The premise of it sounded very well thought out and maybe a very important move, but that was because of the increase in road accidents. Now to get a driving license, you will have to go through a series of tests and things like that. But carry out these tests to avoid, we are in this with the COVID pandemic and everything, to avoid long lines, inconvenience of the people and all that. One, why couldn't we have license for vehicles or driving license that maybe would span for 5 years or 10 years? Driving for ages, do they really have to go through driving tests? I mean, every year, going as if you were doing a test to have a new license. Is it fair to get everybody on the same, to do the same test when people have been driving for 20, 30 years, to come and take them through the rigor of the test?
Well, you're quite right, but then again, you have to understand, the older the driver, most likely the more experienced, but equally at the same time, poor eyesight may befell the driver.
Okay.
Long and short of it, there has been a failure in public policy and failure in the administration of road safety in the Gambia. When was the last time you've seen a traffic sign on the road? See, a road is not just tar. A road is a complementary accessories and hard infrastructure. The road, signals, road signs, etc., plus enforcement. Today in the Gambia, people have licenses. They don't know what a stop sign is. They don't know what a yield is. Do not turn, do not park, because they were not taken to the rigor of going through driving school and being taught those things. But more so, if even people are taught about those things and the roads don't have those accessories, what is directing traffic? Traffic needs to be directed by signs, not people. Think about it. Wherever there is a policeman, you have more traffic jams. So the problem is National Road Authority and the police, because this government is easy to say we are building roads. For crying out loud, roads are just not tar, gravel, and white paint to divide the road. Road needs good signs. So safety, public safety, road safety is a problem. That's why Gambia is one of those countries with high rate of mortalities as it relates to road accidents. Because our roads are ill-equipped and our roads are not drivable. Drivable in the sense that speed limits are not there. Signs to direct you what and how to go about it are not there. That is the problem we find with our roads in the Gambia.
We have ASP Nyang Njie, the police PRO, with us. Good evening, Mr. Njie. Hello, ASP, can you get us? Okay. Hello?
Hello, I'm getting you.
Okay. Welcome to Straight Talk, and thank you for agreeing to come on this call. We are just having a discussion, one on the tint of vehicles, vehicles that have factory tint and those that don't have factory tint. The concern of many Gambians is why the charges if some time back we were told that it's for security reasons, but why the charges if there is a security risk in having vehicles with tint?
Very well. The issue of the tint, we will be able to talk a little about it too, but not very much, because what happened is we have got a decision on the issue last year, which is 2020. Although the decision came a little bit close to the end of the year, it was advised that this decision is hung on until the year 2021 begins. So that's what we have, a communique that we have issued out to the public. But it looks like the authorities have decided to revise this decision so that we will be able to inform the public again about the new actions that have been taken on the situation. That's the new position. But we are yet to get that authority yet. So this is why we could not communicate to the public about the revised position on the situation. So meanwhile, we have also decided to hold on with the enforcement for now, although we have already announced in the now communique that the clearance issuance will begin on the 15th. But because of this situation, we could not go ahead with the enforcement, and so we are holding on until we get a decision on it, then we will be able to adequately inform the public.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. How would you react to the accusation that the police and maybe the government is using the charges on tins and other things just to milk the Gambian people? Because it keeps increasing. One time I think it was less than this. Now the proposed amounts, I know you said you have not finalized on that, but it's like the police or the government is looking for every way and means to get money out of the citizenry.
Well, we want to assure the public that the main reason, the main objective of the around this is for security, to ensure that because as far as we are concerned from the experience, we've got several cases registered several cases in the 2020 year where these vehicles were involved in the transportation of contraband, or we have seen these vehicles being used to evade the payment of documents. We've seen these vehicles being involved in some either fraud situations, and in most of these situations, it's difficult to identify because individuals that are perpetrators of these crimes and traffic offences. And so these are not only, but also even drugs. We have seen where situations, these vehicles were involved in the of drugs around the country. So these are all security reasons that get the issue of coming up with stringent measures as to who or how to do an individual get qualified to carry things on your vehicle. So basically, it's not a venture of money making. Even the issue about the payment came as a result to discourage people who might just want to have it on the Tinder, so around with it in town and so on. So, but if the payment goes higher, it might discourage some other people. But we have revised it and understood that there is a need for a thorough revisiting of the whole process. That is why the police have not started enforcing it. And we hope that by the time decision is made on it will be to the best interest of everybody.
Mr. Njie.
Okay,
Mr. Njie, good evening. This is Nyang Njie.
Good evening and thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
All right, two things. You and I know for a fact that security forces and their cars were involved in transporting contraband in this country. That's a known fact, especially military vehicles in the past. So it's a culture. So therefore, telling us that you don't want the private citizen to be in a tinted car, but you don't mind the security forces and senior public officials to be in tinted cars, you're sending the wrong message. That's number one. Number two, public policy, for it to be effective, there has to be consensus. Consensus meaning the people who are police should be willing and ready to go by it, provided the laws are reasonable. See, here the issue is reasonableness. Your rules and laws are not reasonable because if you look at cars made after 2012, most of them, the rear windows are factory tinted, meaning it's not even plastic, it's the glass itself. So why should someone buy a car off the lot and be penalized? And if security is the reason, me paying is not changing the security risk. It's actually increasing the security risk. So it's counterproductive and very illogical. I think what we need to do here and what we need to understand that the country as is, yes, we have a problem of bad behavior on the roads because road traffic is poorly monitored and our roads don't have traffic signs. Why is the police and the NRA not investing in traffic signs on the road so that when someone violates this, we can make money out of them? No stopping, no parking, speed limits. But these things are not there. You can drive, and I've done this myself. I've driven from Katong all the way to Sting Corner, and there's no stop sign, speed limit sign. The only thing you'll see is showing a village or a town that you're entering. How can you enforce traffic laws when you don't have traffic signs? It defeats common sense, and I think the police need to go back and fix those problems. Then you can hold the people plying the roads accountable. As at now, you are using discretion, and discretion is bad law.
All right, Mr. Nyang. Okay. But we don't make them. So once the laws are made, the regulations are so we are not enforce issues and the regulations. So perhaps we will want to encourage people to keep talking to the National Assembly members, the lawmakers, and whoever is responsible, so that these laws will be able to prevent to shoot the aspirations of the people, so the police will help.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last thing, LSP, that we want to bring out is the issue of licensing. Now, we know that there are some countries that have issue license every 5 years. Why is it that in the Gambia we cannot have some thought in that direction? Secondly, with all this testing, it's a very noble initiative for the police force to try to see how to curb the increase in road accidents and things like that by having more rigorous testing and all that. It's a noble initiative, but the only concern is sometimes the resources for the testing centers are limited. So you have long lines, people are tired of waiting. You can wait from morning to afternoon before you get tested, and that discourages people. So is the police doing anything to ensure that with this new regulation, it's going to ease, it's not going to inconvenience people that much, and there could be a way of fast-tracking the testing and all that, so that maybe there are more centers or things like that. Do you have anything like that in place?
We have to consider that seriously, and this is why if you look at the testing, we have put centers across the country. If you see in KF, we have put 2 centers at the Independence Stadium and at the police garage, just to be able to ease the body. The people can go to the stadium and the others can go to the police garage and candidate. And so people is very good, so you don't need to come to KF and like that is actually distributed up to the UN, so the centers are spread across for the purpose of easing the body like you are talking about. Now, I think you also mentioned something about what was the first thing you were talking about?
Well, it's basically the issue of the licensing, maybe 5 years, giving license for every 5 years.
The 5 years issue, okay, right? It's just the one I was saying, the gentleman, the law has said that it's renewable every year.
Okay.
But the law gave the police will take.
So,
it happens that ordinarily upon we are not the lawmakers.
okay.
But as soon as the law came, we hope that this conversation will continue so that it goes to the National Assembly, to the law, and all that, so that the law will get. If they get to 5 years, we will go
Yeah.
And now we are so that it is renewable every year as the law put it. So we are like that.
Thank you for reminding us of our duty to put pressure on our National Assembly members. But finally, is now you're asking people if you want a driver's license, the car needs to be tested. Some of the cars that people bring are not their cars. Why do I need a driver's license? Why do I have to have a car?
You can rent.
And the car is tested.
No, I'm saying someone can rent a car to use a car.
The driver's license is not for the car to be tested. The car needs to change its license as well, so that's why it is tested.
Okay.
So if you need the car to change its document for 2021, that car needs to be tested and certifiable before it can change its document.
Okay.
You will drive yourself, you also need to change your driving license, so that's another difference.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with putting a car on.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ASP. It's always good to have you on the program to throw more light on what you do. We will keep the conversation going. And for the listeners out there, let's put pressure on our National Assembly to change the laws. But thank you very much. Our regards to your entire team. God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Njie. Good work.
Well, interesting, but it's also good that we could have this interaction, and I think this is what we need as a country. But again, as you said, policy should be responsive, and sometimes I feel that there is an absence of consultation, getting the buy-in of the people you want to maybe help, assist, as it were, by these policies.
The problem most of the time is that the administrators believe that the governed should just be given instructions.
Okay.
And that's not the case. The governed must be consulted. The governed must have a buy-in to what you want to do, because without a buy-in, most of what they want won't happen. So it becomes an exercise in futility. So going forward, public officials need to know their raison d'etre, the reason why they are, is because we are. We, the citizenry, constitute government through proxy by giving it to elected officials and also technocrats who help elected officials to really do their mandate. So, advising government once again, this is not a relationship that is not on an equal footing. It should be a relationship where they understand where they derive power from, and make sure they don't subjugate those people. Not subjugating them is giving them the opportunity to have a say. Then once they have a say, they have a buy-in. When people buy into something, compliance rates go up. But when people don't buy into it, like this tint thing, it's dead on arrival. And I think, to be honest, this is one of the dumbest things done by government in a long, long time.
Our National Assembly members failing us, because in some serious democracies, when government, the executive gets up and just have these policies or whatever it is, without due consultation with the public, the masses, the elected officials, our National Assembly members should be able to say, look, our people are not happy with this decision. You call the Minister of Interior or whoever and say, look, why are you doing this without due consultation?
Well,
are they really failing us?
They're not failing us. We are failing ourselves. The duty of care. You need to understand one thing. Not all of us can sit at the assembly. That's why we have constituencies, meaning groups of areas, and we vote for someone to represent us. If that person fails on their duty to represent us diligently, we now need to put that person out. But then again, the Gambian don't know their rights, and equally, we don't understand our responsibilities. That's why the political class, not only assembly members, the president himself, oftentimes takes us for a ride. Imagine a poor country like Gambia. We are giving the presidency $150,000 a day, the pass, right?
But
allow me.
It's accepted by our National Assembly.
No, forget about the assembly here. What I'm saying, that is outrageous, and it shouldn't be tolerated. But you know what? We just talk about it as citizens and we don't do anything about it. Are we putting pressure where pressure ought to be there? No. Okay. So let us not blame the assembly members. This is our destiny. We should take our destiny in our hands and be proactive citizens of this going concern.
But until we get into another election to put out our National Assembly members that are endorsing some of these outrageous expenditures.
You don't have to wait for an election. You can send a warning salvo. Look, citizens, see, protest, it's not a bad thing, but dictatorship has frowned on protest to the point protest has been seen as something criminal and something as an element of sabotage. No, protest is to keep the political class on the straight and narrow, and also to be in line with the wishes and aspirations of the very people who entrust power onto them. Okay. So the Gambian citizen is lethargic, meaning we're lazy. The Gambian citizen is indifferent to his or her own plight, whether we're suffering or not, and we love to suffer in silence. And that must change and need to change so that the political class will respect us, put some respect in our names as citizens of this country. Okay.
On a different note, I have noticed that the flag bearer of Citizens Alliance is going around meeting different politicians, different political leaders, and there has been a lot of commendation for that kind of a move. The idea or the initiative for politicians or a political leader to say, look, it doesn't matter what our political differences are. We have one Gambia in mind, and to cut across and visit each and every one of them. It's a noble initiative.
It is noble, and I'm quite worried and disappointed with the Gambian political elite. The type of information coming out there, messaging, is not propelling Gambia to higher heights. We don't care about their personalities. We care about the transformation of the lives and livelihoods of the average Gambian. And so long as they're not doing that, they are detrimental to our existence. That's one. So long as they're not doing that, they are part of the problem. And our political class for the longest time have been part of the deterrent of the prospect for development of this country. So what Citizen Alliance have been doing of late is not only noble but commendable. And I think and I hope and I pray they can continue on that, and also others to emulate that. We are in this, and when we are in this, we will have a marketplace of ideas, like John Stuart Mills would have said. But in this marketplace of ideas, the end game is for a better Gambia. So it's not everybody wins. Even when you lose a seat, you're winning, because may the best always win the seat or the presidency, hoping for a better outcome for the collective good of all.
I think for me it was very touching to see, like you said, this is a young man that is just coming into the field, but you have all these old politicians that have not given us maybe the right message, as it were, all this time, because Gambia, I think, we are still, our political discourse is not really about ideas. It's more about tribe, about personality, and all that. And I think we, especially in this election year, it is important that we as a nation begin to look at what is in the best interest of the citizenry. Because, when I was thinking about this, I was saying we were all Gambians before we became UDP, NDP,
but you see, historical context is very important, and that's what we lack in this country. Our political class, post-independence, continued where the British left off: divide and rule. And in this dividing and ruling, they look at a majority that they control against a minority that they can subjugate. Protective People's Party, Muslim Alliance. All of these parties, including that of your grandfather, had...
But his party was the Democratic Party.
No, forget about the name, but we knew the type of people who were there. So the issue here is, politics has been either tribal affinity or social orientation. Now, I can tell you, and mark my words and put it in the book, that 2021 is the end of an era, and a bad era for that matter. Why? After 2021, you will never hear Halifa Saleh, Ahmad Ba, O.J. Jallow, Lawyer Dabo. All of them will sunset. Not die, but out of the political fray. Why?
Okay.
Their sell-by dates politically would have been out of the shelves for people to buy. The kid who is 12, 13 today is going to vote in 2025. And you will see a different Gambian. And that's when the majority of our politics, if you look at Ismaila Ceesay, I will say he is part of this generation, but he's an outlier, meaning he tends to do things that the younger generation will be doing in 2025. So he is blazing a trail, and it's that kind of trail we want to see in our political space to make sure that political maturity, issue-oriented politics is what the Gambian is doing, not towing the country, wearing t-shirts and making the poor poorer by using their productive time to come and cheer for you instead of making their lives better.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Njie. Well, listeners, we will open the lines now. The number to call is 446-1193. We are talking about issues of national concern. We've talked about the tinting of cars. We've talked about the licenses of cars. And now we're talking about our political dispensation with the new kid in the block, blazing the trail, meeting the old guard, and maybe as it were telling them that this is what you could have done for our country all this time. But the lines are now open. The number to call, 446-1193. You could call and tell us, give us your thoughts. Maalaikum salam.
Salangari.
Yes, sir. Mane Balangawa. Nyungla ha kunga nyung because then la buga chi program. Yange daw resnak.
Degala.
Hey, sigil ko. Okay, sir.
Jereja.
All right. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Jereja. Wow. Jereja. Dinañu ne.
Okay.
Mooy lan. Wow.
Yeah. Pour moi.
Jërëjëf.
All right.
Yeah.
And he's talking about road ordinance for vehicles and things like that. I could give you assurance. The most of the heavy duty trucks that are taking these containers out of the port, they should not be that kind. They are not container carriers.
That's true.
They are only made for containers.
Nga lokko. Wow. Definitely.
Yeah.
Dégala.
Okay.
Dégala. Jërëjëf waay.
Okay.
Jërëjëf. Jërëjëf. Waaw.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you. Okay. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you
Jërëjëf
very
waay.
Well, very good points by our man Polo Rossi. Well, I think the points he's raised are very valid, and the police needs to also look at the trucks, the roadworthiness of the trucks and other vehicles. Yes, good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes,
Good evening. Jërëjëf. John Njie.
Yeah.
Sant Yàlla. Jërëjëf.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, jërëjëf waay. Jërëjëf. Sant Yàlla.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dëgg la. Yeah. Dëgg la. Yeah. Dëgg la. Waaw. Dëgg la.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Jërëjëf.
Okay. 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 Okay, all right. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Jërëjëf. Thank you, huh?
Well, thank you very much. The number to call is 446-1193. 446-1193. We have another caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Good
Yes,
evening.
sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nyang Njie. Okay.
What school are you teaching?
He's asking what school you're teaching at. Okay.
Newsrat. Okay. We'll come and pay a visit.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. We continue to open the lines. Just a word to callers. Please state your point as briefly as possible so that we could have more callers coming in. Yeah. Hello. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Maaleykum salaam. Sant Yàlla. Jërëjëf, jërëjëf. Jërëjëf. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Dëgg la. Amiin. Jërëjëf.
Yes, every Gambian has a responsibility to raise awareness in your community. We have another call.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Maaleykum salaam.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. I think, like you said, we have a collective responsibility to Gambia, and within this collective responsibility, we all have an individual accountability, and we must start asking ourselves. Yesterday was a very important day in our Republican calendar. That's the day our president was sworn in Dakar.
Yeah.
We should have had a somber reflection and a stock take of where we were December 16, that's the election, and where we are today. Are we better off as a people? Or have we derailed our collective aspirations to rebuild our nation? That should have been the discourse. And the saddest part, the president spoke to us by press release. Yesterday was an opportune moment for him to address the nation, galvanize our resolve, and try to unite us. We are living in a divided country, and this division is really coming up with very, very clear and distinct lines that is not healthy for collective development and cohabitation as Gambians. Therefore, he is duty-bound to put politics aside and wear his national lenses and say, we are all children of the nation called the Gambia, and I am at the helm, and it's my responsibility to make sure that our diverse people come together towards man's brotherhood as espoused by our anthem.
Yeah. We have a call. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good. Thank you.
Okay, I was listening to the PRO.
Yes.
To hear about his comments on what I want to say is that the PRO said categorically saying they are not policy makers.
Okay.
They implement the laws on the ground.
Yeah.
But
emanate from? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The 100. Okay, the 100 analysis.
I don't think that is correct because the criminals have always had money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not getting that what you're saying. By increasing 50,000 or 10,000, the people who don't think that have
You're quite right, and I think his summation lacked the logical construct to really put a justification behind why they should increase it, because it's not a deterrent.
Yeah.
Like he said, criminals don't care about price; they care about protection.
You can pay more and even tinted darker.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening. Jërëjëf. Wow. No. dëgg la jërëjëf waaw dëgg la waaye ñun ñoo bokk jubluwaay Gambia bi ngay jublu fa laa jublu te ñun ñëpp fa la ñuy dem waaye nag dinaa la wax leen dëkk bi moom ni mel naxari nañu waaye nag ca lañ jógee yal na mu géej fi ca lañ jógee yal na bu fi amaat te lañ jógee yal nañu ci dégg di doy.
Amin.
Wow.
All right. Good evening, caller. Yes, welcome to Straight Talk.
Jërëjëf. Jërëjëf. I know. Nekkuloo fi woon. Wow. Absolutely. No, they don't have to park their cars.
Yeah.
We have to test the laws.
Okay.
Gentlemen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. We're yeah. We're running out of time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your points are well noted, and I think what you're saying is like the blue laws during prohibition. You see, when a law is bad, the citizenry must test those laws and make sure they are repealed. That's one. Secondly, you are quite right. I think the Minister of Health should come and also say that the reason cars were having factory tints is to make sure that the UV light coming in doesn't cause skin cancer to a lot of people in the cars.
Okay, we'll take this last call. Yes, caller, can you be brief because our time is almost up?
Yes, caller.
Good evening. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And you are? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, caller.
Okay,
thank
sir.
you.
Well, thank you very much for throwing light into that. But it's also good that the pressure that is being put on the police, at least they are reacting and responding positively. Well, I think that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for all of you that have called. Just to remind you listeners, to remind Gambians, we have a responsibility to our nation. We are, like Nyang always say, individually accountable, but we are collectively responsible for what happens to our nation. So don't just depend on the two guys. Talk to your community, talk to your children, and talk to your brothers and sisters that are also in government that may be doing what is not right. Talk straight to them, and let's make Gambia a better place. Until we come your way next week, have a pleasant evening. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful nation, the Gambia.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.